Good evening, call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Hampden Selectboard and the Board of Health being held in the Townhouse Auditorium, March 10th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is being conducted in person, everyone, and remotely using video conferencing technology. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is anyone recording the meeting other than ourselves?
Kristen.
Hi, Kristen, from the Wilbraham Hampden Times. Thank you. Any minutes?
Nope.
Nope, okay. So the first item on our agenda is the Hampden Wilbraham Regional School District Regional Agreement. So the planning, I'll give you a brief update on what's going on there. The planning committee met last Tuesday, that would be the 4th. And there was a discussion that most of the things have been agreed upon in the regional agreement. The outstanding item right now is if the Wilbraham Middle School becomes a regional school, the sharing of the capital costs of any improvements that need to be done there.
Is there a differentiation between prior and ongoing or future?
There isn't that right now, okay? So I, at the meeting, brought up the point that there was a number of capital needs that had not been met. There was a feasibility study. There was in the feasibility study, it said about which school would be used. They said that either school needed a number of capital improvements if it was going to be a consolidated school because you get the increased student population. There was a number of things that needed to be done. And so there was quite a discussion about that, surrounding that. And it was determined that the best avenue right now would be have the two select boards meet in order to kind of hash out what would be reasonable and fair for both towns. A meeting was originally established for tomorrow night, but then the Wilbraham Select Board suggested that their legal counsel attend, and they encouraged us to have our legal counsel attend. So I, at that point, said, well, I have to check with my board about that, because I can't make the determination on my own. And we canceled the meeting, so that's where we are. So I personally don't think we need legal counsel there. This is, it's not none of this has been adversarial, and I don't think it should be adversarial. But I do think we need to hash this out. So what do you think about legal counsel being present?
I don't think we need it. I think you're right. We've had a good relationship having meetings before with them. I go back down, we had that meeting at the Wilbraham Police Station 2 years ago.
Yeah,
with both finance committees.
Yeah.
I think it's a good chance for us to sit down, and sooner rather than later. Next week it's filling up. You have your master plan thing, of course, on Tuesday, right?
Right, the 18th. Right.
CPC on Wednesday.
And I think
next Thursday be okay, or?
I'll check. I think the select board, Wilbraham Select Board Chair is on vacation at the end of the month. I think she's gonna be away at the end of the month, so maybe we could get it in between.
Maybe next Thursday?
Check.
Greg, how was Thursday for you?
I'll have to check the schedule. I don't think legal counsel is needed. There's nothing that we're discussing that would be in a contract or violation because nothing's been written yet. So we wouldn't need legal counsel until any verbiage was agreed upon.
The other thing is, Don, if we're talking the six of us, and if you're thinking that would be the only thing on the discussion, I mean, any time during the day it can work for me and Craig, if that helps you at all.
It depends on the time.
You know what I mean, but I'm saying if that helps you at all, you know.
Do I'll shoot for March 18th? Oh, no,
20th.
March 19th,
20th.
20th.
Only because I have
That,
the CPC,
Oh,
the
yeah,
19th.
and the
Which I
18th,
could skip, yeah.
and the 18th is the,
Oh, man, master plan.
the master plan public forum. All right.
Too late to get this Thursday, perhaps, or,
No.
Because we got to post and everything, right?
yeah, we'd have to post tomorrow, early, latest thing.
So I have to get a hold of them and see if they could do it and everything. So, but we'll shoot for the 20th.
I like your recap, Don, it was pretty good, and I think, you know, the numbers they're talking, I mean, we're 18% of the population of WMS, well, we're 18% of the district too, so that is what it is. You know, I just think we get by the one sticking point, I thought the discussion about the regional agreement changes were pretty accurate. You know, it gets back to almost that house reconstruction thing. Once you touch part of it, you're stuck with how much more. But to go back, push on, is DESI pushing too much for some of this? I don't want to say extraneous stuff, but pretty soon they'll be telling you what font to print it in and.
Well, there was a lot of silly stuff they're asking
Sure.
for, you know, so I think, I mean, in the superintendent, the last time they had 66 comments, and we asked the superintendent to talk to them and get rid of them. And he got rid of them, because they were just extraneous things that, you know.
How is refresh my memory with the current regional agreement with the high school? How is that broken down?
The current regional agreement with the high school, for a capital expenditure, if there's a capital expenditure, it's broken down by the ratio of students in that building.
But we own that building, like jointly.
The region owns the.
And the land.
Right, we own the land and the building jointly. So that's apples to oranges almost. It's not-
And that's the whole thing about, in my mind, that's a bit of a bugaboo with us participating in a building that is still on the books in Wilbraham and the land. And I know a lot of social comments about how this is only a precursor to getting a new middle school.
I think the only thing I want to add, and I watched that meeting that was recorded on Zoom, and I didn't think it was in the right context that we're allowing Hampden students, as I think you alluded to before, Don. Nobody's allowing Hampden students to go to that school. They were no choice.
Yeah, I appreciate your pushback on that, and I know Mark Ducey's throw it out there because it's known, is a fearless advocate for Wilbraham, and he should be. He's been in finance, he's got a lot of experience. Maybe the comment was, I think, inappropriate at that point. I think you made that point back to him, and I think we can move on from there.
He made two comments, one that they were allowed to go there, and the other thing was that we gave them the privilege to go there,
The only thing,
the opportunity to go there.
Yeah.
the only thing I see happening now is it may be opening old wounds to new criticism again. So we know the history, we know the past, we know why the kids are there.
Right, and we are where we are.
Right, and so we got to move forward, and I think that, like you said, the opportunity for the six of us to sit down with our administrators, and that's, we don't need lawyers at $500 an hour. Well, that's theirs, ours is cheaper, let me be clear. Right?
Get discount.
Get the discount, sure.
We get discount law.
Hey, I don't know.
All right, anything else? So I'll set up a meeting, I'll let you know. All right. Yeah, the ambulance contract,
I saw somebody log in.
this is action on there?
Hi, gentlemen. This is
Hi.
Rob Zwarn. I'm the CFO at Action Ambulance.
Right.
I do want to apologize in advance. Mike Waronka, our CEO, just called me. He's not able to join. He thought he was going to be able to, and is not this evening.
All right. So we're looking, your proposal is for a renewal for 3 years with 2-year extension, 2 one-year extensions?
Yes, sir. Yes, that's
And-
correct.
And it would be the 3%, and we would do, I guess what we'd like to do probably is roll in the rebate, because I think if we went to the full amount away for the rebate, it would be a big jump this time on our.
Yeah, now that we've got it figured in.
Now we got it figured out. I want to ask about the third thing, the proposed subsidy amounts included here and assume that the impact of change in the federal and state government are immaterial. What does that do if they're not? What if they cut your reimbursements, your Medicare or Medicaid reimbursements?
So the items that I post are listed here are just examples at this point. Obviously, nothing has happened at the federal government level, but there are a lot of unknowns with not only just the change of the administration, but how they're going through and taking an axe to a lot of different programs. We're not expecting anything, but there are a lot of unknowns in that regard. I do want to make clear that if there was to be any type of a change that would impact Action Ambulance, as a result of any of these changes or something else that's unforeseen, this would be a discussion with us and the town. There would not be like a unilateral, we're changing something. There would be a discussion between Action, the Oversight Committee, the Board of Selectmen, to make sure, we're collaborating and maintaining the partnership that we need to. We're not going to spring anything on anybody, but we just wanted to at least put the thought out there that, there could be things that are unforeseen at this point that may require a discussion at some time down the road.
So is there language in this contract for reopening?
I'm not aware of that, but that would be, if necessary, we could put that in as an amendment, or additional
If
terms.
there's a concern, we have to find a mechanism to do it.
Yep. I think the proposal itself would be an amendment to the contract as stated, so we could add wording to reflect, if it has to be reopened, what the mechanism is for that.
Right. I mean, just on the base numbers, I think the base numbers reflect a reasonable increase, based on what's going on. But like I said, the unknowns that are out there, we need to have the flexibility to work with them. So both parties need to. And it's protecting you just as we are protecting the town. Maybe something Brian could, we're probably not the only community worried about that.
How you doing with how's your staffing been? I know there's a couple of people have been sick and stuff, but that's understandable.
Yeah, I know. So I'll speak. I'm finance. I'm not as tied in with operations as Mike or Dave Tetrald is, but I can say I know I have seen some of the some emails recently. People being sick, people being held over at fire, which has impacted the ALS providers. For the most part, I believe staffing is what I see. Staffing has improved overall. I think Dave Tetralt has done a fantastic job of maintaining and communicating with the town. But obviously the sick outs happen. People do get held over at their other jobs as a fire-based provider. Things that are out of our control. But I believe staffing overall has improved over the last several months.
How are your collections doing for the first 6 months here?
I believe it's up slightly versus last year. That rough back of the envelope numbers I was showing about just under 71%. Last year we were at, I think, 69% for the full year, or just under 69%. So it's trended up a little bit. Granted, that's all, my numbers right now are based on projections for how I think the full year is going to play out. Full year meaning the full 15-month collection cycle on the 12-month contract,
Right.
or transport time frame. But it does seem to have improved slightly versus last year.
And there's been no change in your reimbursements from the state or anything, huh? Money?
Correct.
No.
The only bump that we've seen at this point was, I believe it was a 2.4% increase in the overall Medicare rate that was effective January 1st. But beyond that, there's been nothing else pushed down from the state. Now there is a ton of legislation. I believe it's 92 separate bills that are at the State House right now, that to some effect do impact EMS. Some of them involve training. Some of it involves payments to providers. We don't know where those will end up being, and that's some of these unknowns. We don't know where those are going to ultimately end up. If things will get kicked down the road to the next cycle, next legislative session, or if things will actually make their way through the current legislature.
So are we gonna get a proposed contract, or are we gonna just roll what we currently have? Because the way it's listed here, it looks like it's a 5-year contract, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-year contract.
Well, it's 3 with the 2.
Right, but it's not prefaced, right?
Yeah, no. So we've got your figures, but what we're gonna need is a written, contract.
Yep. Okay.
And then we can maybe work with Brian to get the wording for if there's a change in the subsidies, and we can figure something out there. How much is the Medicare reimbursement now?
Well, it went up 2.4%, but if you give me a moment, I could actually get the current rates up in front of me.
483?
That's it.
Oops. Rates. I see, for an ALS non-emergent call, I'm looking at least the data that I have is 347. I believe that was the 2024, so that would get bumped up, 2.4%.
Wow.
That's all you get, right?
And that's it.
Okay.
That's all we get. So, and if it's at an ALS level, an ALS emergent, I'm sorry, that was the ALS non-emergent. So an ALS emergent is 550 plus 2.25 or 2.4%. A BLS emergent call is 463 plus 2.4%. So, it's still under $600 for an emergency call at the ALS level.
Is Medicaid any different?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Is Medicaid any different?
Medicaid in the state is much lower. So New Hampshire has parity between Medicaid and Medicare. In Massachusetts, Medicaid for those same two, an ALS emergent is under $400. It's $396, and a BLS emergent is $334. So there's a big difference between the two.
What percentage of your calls are Medicare, Medicaid? What would you say?
I don't know specific to Hampden, but statewide, we're probably around 60% Medicare and Medicaid combined. Maybe a little bit more than that.
But that's statewide, so might not be
Statewide.
relevant.
Yeah.
About the cities,
Sure.
All right, so I guess I'll have Brian get a hold of Mike to get the wording for the contract. Okay, Rob?
Okay.
All right.
Yep, sounds good. Hey,
Thanks.
if you have any other questions, obviously you can let Mike know, or you can reach back out to me as well.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Our budget,
Oh, yeah.
what do you got?
Budget. You got everything.
You threw everything in there?
Yeah.
The kitchen sink in here.
Salaries up top.
Yeah.
General expenses, the one I did find for employee benefits, that payout amount. We're gonna add 30K to that line.
Which line is that?
Employee benefits,
Where is that?
third block down,
Yeah.
starts with property and liability insurance and employee benefits.
So we don't have a number for Mike?
I just received it today.
Okay.
That was the estimate,
Oh, here we are. You're gonna add how much?
30,000,
So that's gonna be 382, I mean 782?
782, yeah.
Okay. And then you got the Board of Health Coordinator, you figure 52,000?
Yeah, that would be a decrease. That's assuming the facilities responsibilities are removed from that position. So we will reduce the number of hours, and it's going to reset to grade 5, step 1. But up top, they're suggesting the creation of a facility manager position and the water district clerk.
Have we defined the facilities manager?
So I have a draft job description that I sent out this afternoon.
Okay.
Just literally right before the meeting. There is a possibility it's something to talk about. If the Board of Health Coordinator is 32 hours now, if maybe they want to go 40 hours, we could combine keep the water district clerk stuff in there if they wanted. A
I
possibility.
mean, it would
of
fit.
Going 40 hours. But it's just something to think about. Why don't we just run down the general expenses where they've changed? Would that be helpful?
Sure.
So town meeting expenses, so anything in red here is an increase, in green is a decrease. Town meeting expenses, those are the AV costs for town meeting, 18,000. Property and liability insurance, it's a 6% general increase. With bringing on the GWB, it's going to add an additional $42,000 annually to the premiums that we don't currently pay. We just talked about employee benefits. Town reports is a slight increase there.
Are there any other increases in the insurance? I mean, I know we have the new fire truck coming in. I don't know if that's more. Is that a blanket number, what we have currently for fire equipment, but that's replacing a pretty old vehicle.
Is it, okay. We do have some wiggle room for additions and subtractions to our list of assets, but we can check on that. That the brush truck
Yes,
that we're promised someday.
hasn't been cut yet.
Transfer station monitor and testing, I'm not sure why the previous one was 120, 222. But I like round numbers.
Well, I think that's probably more expended than actual appropriated.
What was the number?
Yeah.
That was listed.
Pretty odd number.
Keep going down, increase in postage suggested.
Running back that transfer, do we anticipate that going, that's a worst case at this point. Once they go online in the district, that's gonna come down a bit, right, Craig?
Should,
Yeah,
that was the hopes.
We should, we'll have about half a year of what we're doing now, right? Because assuming the connections happen this winter, or late fall.
and then third and fourth quarter would drop quite a bit, I would think.
Yeah.
Might be something, Don, that in the fall town meeting,
We could
as we would be able to do something with it.
Right? We'll see how far they are, we could take it back, right?
Well, or are we better off to take
Transfer
it
to
down
something
now,
else.
to take the increase down a bit? I wouldn't say the full 60, but I'm saying, do we make it just round it to 100, and then you're only taking maybe 20 back? Offset some of the increase.
I think that sounds logical. I mean, we know we're gonna anticipate a decrease, but
We know there's gonna be I would think you're connecting, how many homes we're testing now? At least 15 are gonna be
16,
added to it, right? If not closer to 20.
23,
24?
24?
Yeah,
No, that's, no, yeah, 24.
yeah.
Yeah, so what, 100, you think? You
I would
said?
think 100 on the top end, yeah.
School building repair, zero that out. Keep going down, increase in postage. Small increase for the website. And this is, go ahead.
Quickly, that increase, I mean, I remember the big increase was because I thought it was a one-time charge that we had to fund the Bob thing. And it stayed up that high after that too? Because I thought, it was like, gosh darn, it was like $6
Yeah, I thought it was
grand one
one-
time,
yeah.
I thought. And then it's gonna stay up that high now?
I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure. The one-time charge was around 30 something.
We had trouble figuring out how we're gonna fund that, because we had found, thanks, Bob.
On a few things.
Yeah,
So I changed the headings here to townhouse and TW, the names here, townhouse and TWB custodial maintenance repairs. I wasn't really sure what to do with the custodial, except keep it at 15, because we're gonna kind of split the year, most likely.
Nice.
Are we allowed to sit, or
Yeah, sure.
should we come back another time?
yeah, if I can quickly just jump in, so I ran into Tony at the event, the donut event at the Senior Center. His son is looking for an Eagle project.
Oh, okay.
So I was going to talk to Mark about it and see what we could do. We don't have anything yet,
Okay.
but thank you for coming in. If you want, if I hear, we can put him on the agenda for next meeting.
Should I reach out to you? You gave me your cell.
Yeah, but I didn't get back, you didn't reply back to me, so I didn't get your number.
Yeah, so should I text you?
Text me and I'll put you, like I said, we'll be in the loop with Mark and see what project he has. You look strong, ready to work. I think rehabbing the entire Mill Pond to be fine.
Or you even mentioned maybe rehabbing TWB.
That's fine too, exactly, the whole thing.
Putting a new roof on and everything.
You lay water pipe?
Him and a couple of friends.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'll text you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So custodial, maintenance, so I'm not really sure where that's gonna land, so I just suggested keeping it where it is now. the custodial, because we're gonna have this building throughout at least, most likely half the year anyways. Maintenance and repairs,
Yeah, just to talk about that custodial, there was some mention at the last municipal meeting about a $200,000 number to maintain the town hall, even this place, even after we left, and I'm like, I don't know where that came from. I think Thad even mentioned, maybe Thad said, but just it didn't, heck, we don't spend that now when we're fully occupied.
it wouldn't be close to that. I think the biggest cost would be, and there's strategies we can use to avoid this, but the biggest cost would become if this were to become vacant in the eyes of our insurance company. So having regularly scheduled events here, meetings, or an office or two here, it will prevent it from becoming vacant. Obviously, vacant building insurance is tremendously more expensive than regular building insurance, but I'm not sure where that number came from.
Okay, because I would have thought just the regular utilities would be less, and
Yeah,
obviously we put it on the police coming to, honestly, a wellness check anyhow, daily.
yeah. So I didn't increase custodial or the maintenance and repairs. I assume that, I mean, we have 100,000 appropriated, we'll probably get a little bit more to deal with some of the maintenance and repair issues that exist at the building. So at this point, I felt comfortable keeping it the same. One thing that will increase is we will be responsible for the utilities there. These are numbers, aside from heating, the electric number might be a little bit low. It's gonna be hard to tell till we get in there, but again, we're gonna be in there full electricity, let's say for half a year at most, so. And then we'll have continued water testing costs there. So I didn't feel like we needed I felt like we could raise it up about the cost of the utilities currently, we're currently being paid there. I talked with Mark about the gasoline purchase. He suggests raise that tiny bit. Shared services, Finn gave us numbers as to what the projected shortfall would be. I think he was projected around 12, it's written there, 12,236.
But the shortfall is not the 25,000 plus the 12, right? The shortfall is the difference between the grant now and
Was that the 12,236?
just 12,236.
Right.
So why don't we just do like
Why do
15?
we need 25 then, yeah?
That was a point of discussion. I didn't know how comfortable we were with how much we wanted to lower it, I should say.
I'd go with 15 if we need something, that's where you tap the reserve account at that
Right.
point.
Go to 15 with that.
Water district operations, this was one where we talked about last time. I don't know what this is gonna be, but I know it's gonna increase, right? Utilities are gonna increase. They're gonna be, supplies are gonna increase. I would suggest they have some contingency funds available if something were to happen. I think for water district testing, I think they plan out their testing, but then what happened, I don't know, a month and a half ago, when they had that, you know, an E. coli concern with the water, then now you have additional testing costs that you weren't planning for. And in the past, having those funds available weren't really in their budget, and more water main you have, and, you know, the chances that something else is gonna happen to it, so. I think it would be good if they could start to budget for the increased operations.
At what point, there's never gonna be enough revenue generated to make it an enterprise fund, right? That's the problem, we'd always be putting money in,
Yeah, there's just, I think,
Not-
what, 3 paying customers.
yeah, so I'm just saying, it never could stand on itself, right?
Even if they all paid, how much would it be, you know?
All right,
Yeah.
we want to cover the electricity, basically. Correct, my understanding is now with the new tank, and we talked about the E. coli outbreaks and stuff, the new tank now would be enough to, if they valve it properly, to supply the district while they're purging the line, or do they have to purge all the lines back to the houses as well?
For Contamination?
When they do an E. coli, and he has to basically bleach the line.
Right, they don't purge it, but they
I'm
just
saying, so,
chlorinate it.
so can they chlorinate just that part, but still supply the district from the tank?
Probably not, it'd probably be dependent on where the concern was.
I'm wondering, do they also have to basically chlorinate the tank too? Where do they test?
Well, it depends, right now it's right at the wells, I believe, the tap, but everything's changing, so it could be different. But all I remember is the one time that it's been a negative test, or a positive test at the pump house. I don't think that's ever the case. It was just because we had low groundwater last year, and there was a different concern, but I don't ever remember it being a contamination there. It's always been at an end user somewhere.
I think I had asked John about that. So the tank gets filled and stay filled, doesn't recycle the tank all the time, right?
It would draw from the tank, that's where the pressure comes from, so it would fill the tank and the pressure would push out from there, so the tank helps with the pressurization too.
So basically, then the tank would have to be part of the
Yeah, this
pumping
is, yeah.
system at that point, yeah.
But again, I can only recall one time that there's been a positive hit at the pump house. So that's just probably a rare occurrence.
All right, what else you got? What does that add up to?
So, if we add the 30K to employee benefits and we take out 20K from transfer station monitoring and testing, and we take out 10K from shared services, we end up where we started.
Well,
Yeah, 5%.
five off.
Huh?
Oh, no, yeah, 15 to 25, just 10, and there's 20 there.
10, 20,
Yeah, so there's 30.
So what's the total?
What it is?
Same.
1989?
No, the other 20.
Column to the right.
For $2,092,298 to the right of the green column.
Realistically, from last year, we're only up what?
We had 30,000 there, right?
Right, I took 30 out. Right.
Roughly $200 from last year. Right, when you look at 19, now we're 202.
No, we're 292.
I have
2092.
Yeah,
and we were 1,900,000 last year.
right.
So we're only up about $200. $200,000.
Yeah.
Sorry. Carried
Yeah,
zero.
that 102,468 is the difference between.
No, up $100,000.
$100,000. Yeah, 102.
5%, yeah.
Well, that must be that total there, right?
Yeah, that's what that is.
Yeah, and that's with the additions of the facility manager at 70,000, the water district clerk at 23,000. So, I mean, general expenses, you kind of really, it's not a huge increase in general expenses, it's mostly salary driven.
Right.
Well, I mean, especially when you keep the county retirement out of this number here, that huge increase is not really under our purview, it's an expense.
No, I didn't know
We're
we
stuck
could do it.
with it.
$151,000.
Right.
Up. What are you projecting for a warrant article for the move?
So I don't have the library moving number yet. I think Ellen was meeting with National, there's a special library moving company. I think she's meeting with them on the 18th. We had the second quote that we received today was just over 30,000. That was more of an estimate, so.
Now, the first quote was 70, would that include the library?
No, the first quote that was 70 was they come in and pack everything up and they move us, and we don't really do anything. They give us a second quote, which was closer to 50,000.
For
Which
us
was
packing?
for us packing and moving. And this one was a little bit more of an estimate. This one was a little bit more, specific on the number. Their quote was based on calculations, based on number of items moved and that kind of thing. So, I mean, they did a 45-minute walkthrough, so I think that price could go up if, after we actually if we were to use them. I'm still waiting for one other quote from a company, but I wasn't very impressed. And then Jenny and I are gonna meet with Andre, just to talk about moving some of the computer stuff, servers and things like that.
How about new furniture and stuff like that? We talked about a couple, do you anticipate, first off, are there people here that should get a new desk because it's not worth moving that desk, it'll fall apart?
Most of the stuff we have here is metal, so probably not, but a lot of the furniture here is older, and some people have expressed desire for new furniture. One of the next steps that we have is to see what's remaining in the building. Because there's not really paying attention, but walking through, there are some pieces of furniture that are definitely worth keeping there.
At the school, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And in talking with Herb and the other people, have they pretty much taken what they want and the rest is left?
I need to check back in with him. When we had the site visits a couple weeks ago, he said one half of the building he was pretty much done, and then they still needed to go through the other part. But I can remember walking through. There's 2 classrooms full of student desks. That.
And there's that one room that had all kinds of, he said it was our stuff with filing cabinets and desks and chairs and
Yeah,
everything.
there's definitely filing cabinets for sure. There's definitely shelving for sure that we could use.
I'd even like to know from the custodial standpoint, the machine they use for the floors, do they have a need for it, or are they gonna leave it? Because that's an expensive piece.
Yeah.
So, what about the IT infrastructure? Are we gonna have to go in and do anything?
So we applied for that grant. I'm not sure when we'll hear back. The plan for the grant was to buy the new switches.
Are the current switches still serviceable?
Yes, they were. Yes, they were just more than 10 years old, so it made sense
Right.
to replace them.
But in the carryover, they're still serviceable, we can use them.
Yes, I would want to double check so that I understood the conversation that I had correctly. They're definitely taking the wireless access point. And they said that they could leave the switches.
Well, just looking at their assessment, I mean, they want us to pay for switches at Green Meadows, so did we already pay for switches and stuff at Thornton Burgess?
They're 10 years old,
Yeah.
so probably.
Yeah,
And did we pay for the access points, or did they pay for those? Was that part of one of our capital's expenses?
We can look back.
Just curious, just looking at the budget that they proposed with the assessment over here, if we're paying for it there, if we already paid for it here.
what, the capital expenses for Green Meadows, is that gonna be a separate warrant article?
I thought it was on there, Green Meadows.
For Green Meadows, I would recommend that it would make sense for them to be separate capital items. Because it's not like a capital assessment from the regional school district, which is usually part of their assessment,
Yeah,
right? It's usually,
Yeah, but we've been pushing them to break it out anyhow, like we did last year with the 4 things from the high school,
right.
so it should definitely be a separate warrant article. I guess the question is, how many warrant articles? I mean, you could package them together, but one will sink the whole boat, so.
That's their, are they gonna do their warrant? They got a bunch for Minnesota, I mean, are they gonna break those out, or are they
No, I
gonna bundle them somehow?
I think those will come in the form of a capital assessment to the town. You
single-
can either take it or
single-
leave it. What's that?
A single capital assessment?
I
or-
would expect it to be that, yeah.
Now, with that type of thing, Don, they would have to live together, right? One town couldn't turn them down, or,
Yeah,
right,
one town could turn them down,
and then they don't go.
then they don't go,
Right.
right? And I think that's the reason why we said the last time, break it out into categories, because there might be things that can go, that people say, okay, that makes sense, but.
Sure, remember the second floor railing,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, which reminds me, I was gonna say, on the Hampden Wilbraham Regional School District amendments, take it off because they're not gonna do it till the fall. It's not gonna come forward till the fall. I checked with the superintendent, and the school committee voted to do that, to take it off, because they wanna give people time to understand it and all that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it would make sense to me that they break it out in different things, because there may be things there that people are saying, I'm not interested in paying $50,000 for a clear clean. You make a good point about the actual switches.
Just curious if they're charging us assessment at Green Meadows, and what did we already get charged over there?
So, in terms of the whole jump, I mean, what we have coming on, especially with change in staff, et cetera, I think the 5% jump is, $100,000 is pretty reasonable in a $2 million budget there.
Well, Brian said it's mostly salary.
And a lot of it's new salary.
And if it wasn't, and what percentage is the TWB part? I mean, considerable. Look at the jump. I mean, the premium jump for school alone, 42 out of it.
Now, which, the insurance company valued the school at how much?
18 million.
18 million.
Some change, $1 million.
Why, you want to put it on the market?
That's a good chunk of change.
The assessors have it assessed at 8 million.
Yeah, but a full replacement value would be 180 million. Right. With the school in East Long Meadow, 175. So if you had to build a municipal building right now, probably that 18 million is pretty accurate. Yeah.
All right. Anything else on that? We won't be meeting in executive session tonight because the highway union person is ill, and you don't have anything to report from the.
Right.
Okay.
Are we going down there, or are they coming up here? Our next thing would be to meet with the advisory committee.
We're a little earlier now.
We're on time.
They're probably on their way up.
We're right
Scott
on
just went
time.
down there.
You want to do reports while we're waiting?
Yeah, we'll do the reports. Can I have the select board report, members report?
Member person?
Member person.
Member person, John, had a senior center building committee meeting this morning. Gary reported to me that they're working with a window company for a quote on that. Also a quote for roof replacement. I know we touched base with Brian as well to get information on prevailing wage, et cetera, so we get the correct numbers. And efforting to get something for the town meeting at this point.
I have nothing to report.
I already gave my report regarding the planning committee, and the
Master plan.
master
So
plan is meeting Wednesday morning to meet with the consultant to talk about the setup for the 18th, which would be a forum and an input from citizen input for the master plan, which is very important for people to attend. There's a lot of recommendations there.
do you want to get that company to broadcast it?
No,
Oh, I know, like expensive staff, but by gosh, the part they do with
yeah, I
the,
know, they do a nice job. That's at Thornbury School.
so is that going to be, assuming people Zoom, or screen sharing is going to be important for
Screen
that?
sharing, yeah.
And we talked about also, just like, for some of our municipal meetings here, it's important to get that camera automatically rotate the seating
I'll talk to
presentation.
them on Wednesday on that.
But there is also no school on Wednesday, so you might have diminished participation.
Huh?
No school on Wednesday,
Really, why?
in service day.
Oh, snow day.
Well, middle school has to go to school
Oh,
because of a snow day. Or it's because they make up for the mold
all day.
day.
There's a sound bite, nice, Greg.
Well, it's true,
It
right?
is what it is.
On the administrative report?
Yep. There's a water project meeting tomorrow with Commissioner's Time Bond to talk about the moving the project forward. Jane and I are meeting with Andre at TWB. I think we scheduled it for Wednesday. to see what it's gonna take to move IT equipment there. And we have four candidates for the Board of Health coordinator position.
We pared it down to 4 candidates.
Right, we
Yeah.
pared it down to 4, and we'll be having interviews on Thursday afternoon. That's about it.
Would,
Starting at 2, right, Don? Brian?
Yeah,
Brian, you mentioned earlier about
yeah.
the Board of Health coordinator maybe doing the water clerk position.
Yep,
Is that something that would be realistically attainable
do it now.
from 32 to 40? I mean, it would fit under a Board of Health role
Yeah,
based on the water district, but it would alleviate us from having to find another person for position.
yeah. If the one thing that I don't think this person would be able to replicate that Jane does is kind of the off-hours emergency stuff, if
Right,
something
right.
goes wrong,
I wouldn't expect a clerk to do that anyway,
right? So,
more there for the,
Would that be the facilities person? Then no, not for water, right? You know, I'm talking about.
off hours, yeah. That might increase the salary.
yeah, I think it's possible. I mean, you would add 8, so really at this point, we don't really know how much, we're estimating how many hours it might need.
Right.
I mean, the salary would be for 20 hours a week, but, I mean, 8 hours a week would be a full day. Yeah, I mean, it might be enough.
I think the facilities thing, one thing that I think needs to be addressed, and I see the number here for Academy Hall, is that the increase in electric costs. And it's too much, I think, to ask the Historical Society to look into that. But the facilities person will be the proper person to go over there and figure out what the heck is going on, et cetera. Maybe they reach out to Mass Save or one of those, if that's still around, and see what can be done.
And we're supposed to get, I need to follow up there. We had that grant, that shared regional grant for the energy manager. I mean, that's a good spot to start too.
Sure.
Still like to look at that well usage too.
We'll give them
I
their
still like
first,
to look at that well usage over there.
That's right, yeah.
give them their first task here. Here's this building, make it more energy efficient.
I mean, somebody's would have those numbers, right?
One thing about the well usage, and I know I mentioned this to you, Craig, in an earlier meeting. If it comes up that that's an expense, is there a possibility of converting it over to the district? I mean, it'd be a one-line tie-in to where it comes off of the well.
The only problem I see is that the water district was created to fix a problem of contamination. I don't know if that fits in that criteria, because it's just a usage thing.
Well, no, I mean, those houses are on there because of the salt contamination, just like
Is that-
we connected the northern side of the road for the same salt contamination.
Yeah. I mean, it's in the geographical area, but, you know, the new system should be able to handle it.
You're saying it might be something worth looking at expense-wise down the road.
Yeah, I'd still like to see what the usage is over there, if that's the reason why the electric is so high.
All right. Do you want to wander down and see if they're ready, Lauren, or?
I guess they're ready for us down there.
There, you want us to come down there? So,
Well, do we need to go, want to just adjourn then, basically, or, does it mean, we're done with our stuff?
can we just adjourn? And then,
Probably technically not. Because you still have a meeting, you'd still technically be a meeting downstairs.
we may make decisions. Okay, so
But you
we're going
could-
to go down to going down to the advisory committee hearing, and we'll adjourn from there. And there'll be no other further business other than the budget, which we already went through.
So we'll leave the Zoom running and basically come back here to vote to
We'll
adjourn.
Zoom running, and then we'll just come back here to,
We adjourn from down there, or do we have to come back here?
Well, that's what I'm saying, if you're saying we can't close, Can we close the Zoom then? But not adjourn, we're not adjourning the meeting, but we're closing the Zoom portion, but we open Zoom for our meeting. I think technically, we'd have to leave it running.
Okay.
Stopping Zoom?
Unmute yourself.
We'll be back with you, Chair.
Maybe the chair will share a couple of comments in case of the meeting. Right.
That's right. Want me to update this?
It's all the same numbers, though.
Well, except the,
Right, but it's the end numbers. Right?
yeah. I can handle it, right?
Well. You muted?
No.
They've got some things done.
I was thinking that.
Maybe they've got
In case somebody walking here.
Sound back on?
Oh, there you go. Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You.